Hi Pinsiders, as promised I said I'd shoot some video of John Trudeau's Forbidden Planet as it sits at the moment. So what we'll do first of all, we'll take a look around the cabinet and then we'll take a quick delve through the hardware and the underside of the playfield. Please excuse the camera and any shakiness. I'm just doing this on a smartphone, obviously single-handed, so I will be moving this around, probably a bit violently here and there. I'll edit it as best I can and we'll see how we go. Thanks very much. Right everybody, first up we'll take a quick look at the cabinet. You may have seen this in some of the shots where it was sat in a WPC cabinet. Everything we're using is, as far as we can make it, WPC hardware, mainly for the fact that firstly it exists, and also from a reliability point of view we can replace anything if we need to. So as it sat at the South Coast Slam, it was in that cabinet. The intention was always to make a new cabinet that was a custom for the machine. What we were aiming for was something that looked futuristic but also looked fairly retro at the same time. Now the actual cabinet is a bit of an amalgamation. You may have seen the Mr. Game machines, things like Dakar. Actually had a nice funky setup where they actually had the legs pushed over at an angle. Really, I wanted to replicate that. I thought it looked good. I thought it looked fairly unique. Now, the actual cabinet came from another machine I made, which was called Lex. Lex was around in 2005, and what led John to say, and a few of the team to say, oh, we'd like to make a machine. Would you be on board with it? So I redesigned the cabinet fairly late in the process. As you can probably see, as we go around, it's fairly close to a Mr. Game, but it's also unique in its own right. As I said, the actual cabinet was originally designed for a game called Lex. I'll try and zoom in a bit on the only picture I have of it left, because we never actually got it into the cabinet because it was going to cost way too much to make. At this point, what it was a steel frame with a steel outer. We decided to re-engineer this back to wood for the Forbidden Planet project, mainly for cost and also because it was just easier to make. Everything we do is designed in SolidWorks, so what happened was John sent me across the SolidWorks files for the machine. The cabinet I actually designed myself. John wasn't actually involved with that. We tried to solve a few problems with the Mr. Game in the fact that we wanted to keep all the hardware the same for WPC. That obviously meant a few bit of redesigning. Also, we decided to, as I say, make this back in wood. We decided to do something a bit different. We wanted to make it more futuristic, so we did away with all the side rails. We basically went to a frameless design. So let's now go and take a look at the actual cabinet as it sits. Right guys, here's the cabinet. First thing you'll probably see, it has a standard coin door on, standard start button, standard plunger, standard flipper button. So everything we're using is basically standard hardware. If we look at the legs as we move down, as you can see they're at a nice angle, pretty much the same as a Mr. Game. The way these work is they sit in little stubs, so you can't actually see any fixing mountings. As we move around the back of the leg, what you should hopefully be able to see is some security bolts. You don't actually need these. The legs will actually sit in place without being bolted down, which helps when you're setting the machine up. But obviously from a security point of view, what we wanted to do was to make sure that everything was secure if it was on site. Just coming back, you can probably see, apart from my poor reflection in it, is that in effect the cabinet is finished off the same as you finish off a piano. What you probably can't see, and hopefully I'll try and shine a light on this, is that actually in the paintwork it's actually got some form of reflective glitter. You probably see this better as I come down here into the silver of it. Yeah, so you can see we don't actually need to put any decals on this. We could just leave the cabinet as it is, as a generic cabinet. The reason we cut it away at the front is to try and make it float. So as we look at it from the front, it's almost a case that it floats, rather than seeing it as you would see if I look at my earth shaker here with the leg set up as you would normally have it. The actual lockdown bar, if we come to there, I'll open this up in a bit. It's a standard WPC lockdown bar, but what we've done is we've modified this for our frameless surround. I'll come back to this in a minute, but this is designed to light So it will actually light up pretty much, if you imagine the Tron film, how all the edges of everything would light, this does the same kind of thing. Moving around to the back, you'll see, unlike a normal machine, this is designed to fit flush to the wall. So it actually doesn't sit away from the wall, it actually sits flat. And the reason we did that was a little bit of space saving. It's also slightly lower than what it would normally be, just to try and get it to fit into smaller spaces. This also helps with the frameless design we have on the glass, in the fact that you don't need an extra 4 or 5 feet out the front. You can actually just take the glass off as it is. So that's what we'll probably do in a minute. Before we do that, we're just going to take a look in the back box. Now what we did was we kept the same key, so that one key will basically fit all. So I'll just pop up to here, and what I'll do is I'll just undo that. And the first thing you'll notice if I zoom out, for ease of access, rather than hinging this to the side or anything else, as well as not having a back glass that you would take out, we wanted to keep everything attached to the machine where we could. So I'm just going to open this up. The first thing you'll notice is it's on gas struts. So if I let that go, you can see inside we have 2 gas struts. It lifts up, so everything is pretty much able to be got at. First of all, the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this out. It's just a simple case of unclip it at the back, lift it up out of the way. So this is going to show us our hardware that's on the inside here. Pretty much everything you would normally find in the head we have in here. So what I'll do is I'll start at the top and I'll work my way around. So at the top, the machine is being driven by an Intel NUC. Fairly new. It runs HDMI. So we have this running through digital video back to the screen, which is a standard HD screen. Moving down from there, we have the actual P-Rock itself. This is how we're powering our machine. Once again, driven through a USB back to the P-Rock. Moving down, we have in here 2 speakers. These are 6x4 3-way speakers, and these are being run off our 500 watt amp that's over the side here. Coming down from there, we have our filter for our bass, which is then running off down to the bottom of the machine. Now everything in the cabinet is attached via connectors. So this is allowing us, if we need to just quickly disconnect it and we can just take the head off. This helps for ease of transportation, because at the moment the head isn't really designed to fold down. So moving down from there, first thing you can probably see is some standard WPC wing bolts, but we also have a secondary fixing on here, which is just designed for security to stop anybody pushing against the back and basically snapping it off. So that's pretty much in the back. You see it sits on the collar. So the idea once again is to make the head float above the cabinet. So what we'll do now, we'll move down to the cabinet.